What's up, guys? Dave Duncan back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. For this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from experimental sludge post-metal band Absent in Body.
Can we call these guys a supergroup?
Yeah, I suppose you can.
Let's do it.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, let's do that. The band's new album, Play God, will be released on March 25th via Relapse Records. So this
Relapse, Dave.
This
Relapse.
is a debut album. Another debut album.
All of them tonight. Well, all of them apart from the ones that aren't.
Yes.
So.
This band they've been together since about 2017.
Have they?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
This band's made up of Igor Cavalera, obviously ex Sepultura, Cavalera Conspiracy.
I think I've heard of him.
Yeah.
He's a bass player, isn't he?
I think he's a vocalist, is he not? Cavalera rings a bell.
They're all vocalists.
Scott Kelly from Neurosis, Matthew Vanderkove from Amenra, and Colin H. Van Eckhout from Amenra. The album was recorded and produced at Amenra bassist Tim de Geiter's Much Love studio in Belgium, and then mastered by Jack Shirley at Atomic Garden. Okay, so this has kind of been on our radar for a little while.
This has been on our radar since Relapse sent a teasing email out saying, "Have you heard the new track Sarin by this band, Absent in Body?" And me and Dave at almost exactly the same time sent each other messages going, "Have you fucking heard this track yet?" Which we did, by the way, when they released the second track, The Acres, The Ache, which I think we both sent each other and said, "Have you heard this track?" So, this has been on our radar for a little while, and it's safe to say, Dave, we have been a little bit excited.
Yes, we have. Every time they drop a new single, the excitement levels just shot up just a little bit more. And I was just like, at the point, I was like, I need to hear the rest of this album, please.
Just give us it. It's only 5 songs and we've heard 2. So come on.
So I'll start with yourself. What did you think of Absent in Body's debut album?
This is fucking awesome, right? Let's just get that out of the way. It's more than lives up to the 2 singles that came before, because you could be forgiven for thinking after hearing those 2 singles that you knew what the EP, album, whatever we're calling it, 5 tracks, as I don't know, it's 5 tracks and 35 minutes long. So, technically an album, but track-wise, maybe an EP. They're saying album in their press release. We're saying album. I'm getting distracted, but you could be forgiven for thinking you knew what this was going to sound like. There is so much surprise, and I don't want to tease people. There's so much surprise on the stuff you haven't heard yet. And that kind of came in pretty much from the off. I'd already, truth be told, I'd heard 3 tracks from this, because there's technically 3 tracks out. So I'd heard Rise from Ruin, that had come in already. And then The Acres, The Ache was, I think that was the second thing they released. And Sarin was its own thing before the album was announced. It just kind of exists as its own little release first, in advance.
I thought The Acres, The Ache was the first single.
Was it? I don't think so. 8 minutes long? I thought it was Sarin.
I'm sure that came first.
Well, whoever it is.
I'm pretty sure that was the first one.
Chronologically speaking, there's 3 tracks that you can listen to now, right?
Yeah.
Guys, there's 3 songs out there. But even from listening to those 3 songs, which have elements that are different, certain sections that build up, I was once again convinced I knew what this was going to sound like. And Rise from Ruins is like that core sound that I thought I was going to get. Fucking disgustingly heavy, disgustingly heavy guitar, bass, and drum work with that kind of big old Neurosis fucking heavy ball bag across the side of your face swagger, right? Where it's horrible and it's disgusting and it's so dank and so heavy, and it just there's no space. It is the literal description of being hit in the face by a wall of fucking sound.
Yeah.
And then you get the vocals. And the vocals are so fucking raw.
Yeah.
So raw, as in skinned my finger, dipped it in lemon water, raw. You know, that sounds you would make, and that's the vocals. And it's just, everything about it is just uncomfortable, and you just kind of don't, you can't sit and feel happy about anything, but you are excited by every single second of it. And then it finished, and I was like, more of this. And then the album does a big old fashioned fucking, you know, right turn Clyde, and you get hit with an orangutan in the face. The second track, In Spirit and Spite, has what I can only describe as industrial style drums, which gave me the hardest erection. I mean, like, fucking Pfizer should put that in pill form and just get rid of Viagra, right? And like, honestly, I was just like, oh, like the eyes started doing the like a wee bit of twitch and all the rest, and it just started adding these once again, the walls are same, but there was more space in this track. And then when you think you get a grasp on how it's going, it's much more deliberate, much more kind of precise.
Yeah.
The last, 2.5, 3 minutes is spoken word.
Yeah.
Like, it's like from fucking Opiate by Tool. Actually, like, as I swear to God, I thought, is that fucking Henry Rollins talking? Like, it goes full spoken word and really just kind of starts to, like, level itself down and add atmosphere and texture. And by the end of track 2, Dave, I was happier than a pig in shit. I was just like, this, and where are you going to take me now? And then I realised I'd already heard Saturn, which comes back in like a sledgehammer hitting a fucking steel beam. It is so heavy. It's so heavy, and just the production, dude. The production on this is perfect.
Yeah.
Pinpoint perfect. And what I love about this as well is, like, characteristically speaking, yes, you can hear the influence of Neurosis. For sure in here, I would argue this is heavier than Neurosis. Not familiar with the other bands you mentioned, but this is not the drum styling that I expect from Igor Cavalera by any stretch of the imagination. But you know what? I fucking love it.
Yeah.
This is him taking a very minimalist approach to drumming.
Sure. Yep.
I'm used to him being a bit more complicated and playful, and that's not here. And I love the fact that he hasn't done that. I love the fact that he's acclimated to the sound that's required, as opposed to trying to be Igor Cavalera in this band. He's this is a new band, so this is the sound, and this is what I'll play. It fucking works, man. It really, really works. Then you get the Ache, which, like I said before, is out there. It's fucking over 8.5 minutes long. It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. And then just when you feel like you're spent, another 8 minutes are coming in at the end with a half rising man. It's the perfect way to close out this release. It's hard not to be excited about this, like genuinely hard not to be excited about this. It's ugly. It's an ugly sounding release, but it wears influences clearly on its sleeve. You can hear the core elements there for sure, but what I love about this is at no point was I like, oh, well, this is just like Neurosis. I can hear those elements in there, but it's like they've been taken to a different level of tank, and then it's such a violent sounding release, and very, very deliberate with its pacing, very deliberate with its structure, but there's so much going on here that I think is the bit that you can easily... It took me like the third listen to be like, oh, there's another guitar bit there doing something in the back. That's really fucking cool. Or, like I say, really leaning into In Spirit and Spite, where there's a fucking shitload going on in there, with specifically the drum sound, with that industrial core, and then by the time you're leading out to the end, they're just like bringing everything down. It is an incredibly well written album. It's a pure joy to listen to. This went beyond my expectations. I genuinely thought we were just going to get the heaviest matter in the universe for 5 songs, and I would have been cool with that. I was stressed. But there's a lot going on here, and it's an exciting release. And once again, it kind of underlies, or puts a big underline under the fact that Relapse Records are maybe the most exciting record label around just now. Like the roster of bands is just jaw dropping, and they, like, the weird thing about it is they all weirdly work. Like Author and Punisher could play with Absent and Body easily.
100%.
Like easily, even though they're on the more industrial side, there are through lines to all their stuff that they have, and I love that about them as a label just now. There's craft. Whoever is doing their A&R work, whoever's like specifically going out there and like listening for bands and signing them up, has a real ear for bands that are all, the Relapse sound, but are all going off in weird directions. This is fucking awesome. I love this. What about yourself, Dave? Are you in Camp Duncan, or are you about to give an Igor Cavalera album a bad review, which I know is difficult for you considering he was your childhood hero?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, Big Igor, he's been there from the start of my drumming career. The big man. I think, like, I remember hearing. I thought it was the Acres.
I'm going to agree with you. It must have been the Acres and Ache.
I think that was the first song I heard.
Yeah, I think Saren's the second song, and I think Rise from Ruins the third.
I think so. I remember hearing that track, and kind of like after now listening to the full album, it feels like that track was a very kind of clever song to release as your first single. Like, it kind of sits towards the end of the album, but it kind of encompasses all the different kind of elements of their sound, whilst not going like too far with any of them. Like, it has the kind of slow, kind of sludge drenched kind of post metal riffs, but they're not the heaviest of the album. And it also has like a little bit of kind of vocal melody and a little bit of ambience just to kind of balance the whole track out and kind of give it some contrast. And those melodies, they don't really kind of rear their head again on the album. But because their sound is so apocalyptically heavy,
so fucking heavy.
This was like, I think this was a good track to kind of break people in with. And it sits in a really good place in the album. Just when you're starting to feel like the weight of this release, they add in that little bit of light, just to kind of ease off the kind of heaviness just a touch towards the end. The other singles, though, like as you said, like much heavier. Like Saren is at like the other end of the scale. It's just filled with like these like monolithic riffs, really like upfront, abrasive, almost like kind of like vocally. It's like almost like kind of like brutally kind of robotic vocals. It's like. It's so weird, but like they
something
don't,
alien about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Which like you look at the album artwork and it's like an alien skull. Which kind of made me like think, is that what we're going? Because it feels otherworldly. There's something about it that just it's not natural, Dave.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, and those vocals are just like so like really just in your face for the whole track. But one thing I really like about these guys is that, as you said, there's always something else going on in the background. Like, there's a lot to kind of unpack from this. Like, it maybe doesn't feel like that on the surface, but when you listen to it, there's loads going on in the background. Whether that's like another kind of layer of ambience, or like there's some like kind of atmospheric synths, or something more kind of industrial sounding. And it's there on Saren. It's very like kind of mechanical, like just kind of like simmering in the background, but it perfectly fits with that kind of like drone like tempo and mood of the track. But as you said, there's a very industrial feel to this album, which reminded me, especially in the production, reminded me a lot of Godflesh. But I also think that the drumming is partly a lot to do with it as well. It's very, as you said, it's very straight. There's no additional frills. There's a little touch of double bass, and there was like a couple of like tribal type Sepultura rhythms just thrown in, like not a lot, but a little bit. And the drum sounds are quite kind of industrial as well. And just when you kind of couple that with the like just kind of very metronomic kind of playing style that Igor's went for, it does add this whole like kind of mechanized kind of feel to the whole album. But in the same respect, the guitars don't necessarily feel the same way.
No,
they have this a more kind of natural like post metal type sound on the heavier parts, but they also like veer into like completely kind of clean territory as well on In Spirit and Spite. So it has got this like hybrid, like half man, half machine type feel to it, which I really liked. I really dug that sound. And they kind of push and pull that balance throughout the release, depending on like what type of journey they try to take you on. Like riffs wise, like don't be expecting anything that's overly intricate. They go for a kind of relentless, just kind of pummeling steamroller effect, like rather than
it works.
It totally does. Yeah, rather than being like super technical, and that can make the album feel quite kind of repetitive at times, but I feel like that approach really works, and it almost makes you focus more on the vocals as well. And it's weird, like when I heard the singles like separately, I didn't really feel like kind of overwhelmed by the singles because I was listening to them individually weeks apart.
Yeah.
But when you stick them together, like the 5 tracks, it's quite a demanding listen. Like I certainly started to feel a bit kind of like fatigued by track 5. By the time I got to like the Half Rising Man, I was just like, this is like quite heavy going. It wasn't an album where I was like, I wanted to put it on straight away after it finished. You know what I mean? Like I needed like, maybe just put a wee palate cleanser in between listens to this. You know,
a little bit Blink 182, some 41,
Kenny G or something. You know, you do with Kenny G just to settle the nerves. You know,
Kenny G.
But it's very much a kind of mood album. I couldn't see myself like sticking this on first thing on a Monday morning to get me ready for the day, but I think when the mood strikes, this is like really compelling. And it's very much, it's weird, like it's very much an album that works best as an album.
Yes.
Although I really enjoyed the singles, I don't think you get the full Absent and Body experience unless you listen to it in full, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You kind of get all sides to the band. You know, you get the devastatingly heavy, but you get the kind of haunting and slow burn moments. But like even in those sections that allow you to like catch your breath for a second, they can switch so easily into like something so dense and like claustrophobic as well at times. So yeah, it's like a really interesting album. It feels like sometimes like on the surface it seems quite simple, but actually there's quite a lot to kind of unpack from this. There is a bit of depth there as well, and the production is spot on. Like I totally agree. There, just
production is insane, like insane. This is what I keep saying, right? Not that I want to do the old shots fired here, but let's fucking do the shots fired. That's what I'm saying, like. I understand that I'm gonna do it. The deathcore mentality. I understand the brutally detuned guitars. I understand the machine gun precision of like a fucking tweaked drum kit and all the rest. And I understand how that can be heavy with the here comes the breakdown. I get that.
Yeah.
But then I listen to this, and I would argue this is heavier, right? And they're not doing that.
Yeah.
So I think it's all about a technique and a vibe, and these guys exist in that. Because I was thinking about this. How would you describe Absent and Body to someone that was like, oh, what you've been listening to this week? And I couldn't quite. Just settle on the thing that I wanted. Like, there's definitely post-metal in there. There's definitely doom in here. There's definitely, really aggressive industrial in here. But I don't think even using those three things together articulates the sound at all. No. It's just, it's a weird experience. It genuinely is. It's one of those ones that I think even to the end of this year, I'll still be trying to fathom out how I describe this to someone. I don't know. It's just like is just so fucking dense. Is the densest thing that we've listened to in a while.
I actually sent this to one of the other reviewers to check out, and he actually, when he messaged me back, he actually made a really good point. This album would also work brilliantly as a remix. Like, you could totally imagine this being like something like more kind of dark wave, or even more industrial than it is, because it has that kind of that blend of both worlds. So it could easily move deeper into a more like electronic sound. Like, and I was like, yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, I could totally.
This is what Fear Factory should sound like.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like being totally serious. This is what Fear Factory should sound like, not the shit they're putting out. But this, where you're like, there's a part of it that feels incredibly machine precision like, and then there's another part which feels like the heaviest human in the world. And they've melded it together, and I think I genuinely. That's the stuff that excites me now, is when you're listening to something and going, geez, that's just so different. But it's not so different that it sounds like, like you said, they're not the most original band in the world. Like, if you listen to Neurosis, you can easily make the transition to Absent and Body. It's not a huge jump.
No.
It's just the other elements that they're bringing in here just make it like different and interesting. And maybe not back-to-back listen, but this is a Moorish quality to it, where I know for a fact I'm going to keep coming back and listening to this a lot this year. This is one of those ones where I'm just going to be like, like, work's been a bit shitty today, things haven't been going the way I want them to. Absent and Body. Headphones on. Let's fucking do this. So yeah, I don't know. It's excited me because the stuff I've said before, the stuff that's different from the stuff that we usually listen to, is the stuff that tends to stick out in my mind come halfway mark for the year and come end of the year.
Yeah. Okay, so Absent and Body, Play God, ratings. What we're thinking for this album? What's your score for this one?
This is a difficult one. This is a difficult one because, like, instinctually, I want to just like slap my dick on the table and say a 5, right? And I genuinely want to do that. I still think there's more listens. I think after 4 listens, I've got a good handle of what's going on, but I still think it has more dirty secrets to unlock that will raise it to that 5 level. And I also think you are right. There's a part of me that feels like when I finish this, I am fucking exhausted, like just like drained, want to sit in a dark room, want to try and reconnect with humanity, like the old Uma Thurman from Kill Bill, wiggle your big toe, wiggle your big, to see if I can still do it. I'm going to come in 4.5, but I'm also going to say on this recording, as a caveat, if I come in at the end of this year and say that I've changed my grade to a 5, I've told you right here, right now, it's going to do it. This is my alley. This is all that industrial stuff they're doing is my playground. The fact that they've brought that to an album that I didn't expect they would has made me immensely happy. So 4.5 just now, with room to move to a 5.
Oh, nice. I am coming in at a 4 on this one.
With room to move up to a 5.
I really enjoyed it. I really did. Although difficult to spin on repeat. But I think they're definitely onto something good, really impressive. Like, and again for a debut, like, I can't imagine like where this is going to go further down the line on albums 2 and 3.
You imagine this live?
Oh, that would be really interesting to see.
You fucking end up like getting Bell's palsy because of the fucking heaviness. Your face just drooping at one side. I know for that, it's that kind of them and Conan.
Yeah, that would
in
work.
The same gig, you would be able to you'd be able to stick a pin through your finger right through the nail and not feel it, because you'd be that kind of vibrated out your tits.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is like an album that just sits right here on your chest. Like, it's just so heavy. But yeah, there is a lot going on in the background as well, so don't be fooled by it. But yeah, for me at the moment, it's probably a 4 out of 5 on this one. Yeah, did enjoy this one.
I love the fact that you referred to it as like a night terror that just sits on your chest. Sleep paralysis. This is sleep paralysis, an album. Just fucking sitting there and you can't do anything. Love it.
Absent in Body, Plague Gods, out on March 25th on Relapse Records. Is it Plague Gods or Plague God? I'm just had a look at that. I've written it two different ways.
Plague God.
Plague God, sorry. Out on Relapse on March 25th. I will put some links below to Facebook, to Bandcamp. Check it out. Let us know what you think. As we said, there's been like 3 singles out already.
Yeah, you've got more than half
the album.
And seeing that the 2 tracks that haven't been released yet are almost half the length of the release. So keep that in mind as well. There's 18 minutes of music out there. There is 15 or 16 minutes, 17 minutes of music you've not heard yet. So, and that's on the last 2 songs.
Really nice.
And those last 2 songs, fucking bangers.
Yeah. That's the review. Thanks for checking out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with a new review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.